Shall we begin?
You aren't stuck in traffic. You are traffic.
Let's begin now.
Please get that bicycle-shaped object out of this shop. Oh no, dude. No mix and match here. Black bottoms or full-on kit. Pedal on, bro. Pedal on.
Let's begin now.
Oh, geez. Learn the hard way. Wider is better.
Today is Friday, April 5th, 2019. You just downloaded and are listening to Bike Shop CX. Thanks for listening. Thanks for downloading, everyone. Music I'm using on today's show is Bijou by Philly Run, and you can pick up this tune at the Free Music Archive, where you can download it, coincidentally, for free. All right, what's going on? Well, we've got over on Instagram, we talk about this at the very end of the show because we almost forgot to mention it, so I'm going to mention it in the intro. We've got the April CX Challenge going on. If you're not a part of it, we're having a blast. We are a few days further on than we were talking about on the show. The show was recorded actually a couple days ago because of some time constraints that we have, but we're having a blast. Get over to my Instagram page at bikeshopcx. Check out the April CX Challenge. It's been so fun. Everybody, if you've been posting and you're already in it and you're doing it, thank you so much. The pictures have been outstanding. It is going to be extremely difficult to pick a winner, and the winner gets to be on the show, and we'll talk about that more a little later. So, as always, we are proud members of the Wide Angle Podium Podcasting Network. If you get a chance, get on over to wideanglepodium.com and become a member. It's the members are what drive the network, and the more members, the better for us. And it's just very, very helpful. So thank you to all current members. And if you're thinking about it, thank you for that. And you can get more information over there. So today's show, as we've been promising torque, I think, for the past two shows. So we actually get to talk about some torque topics today. And we don't get too into the science of torque and everything. We talk more about torque wrenches and what torque preset keys we like, what torque wrenches we like and are using, and stuff like that. I think you'll like it. We're going to be doing viewer questions, of course. And what are you working on? So I think that's enough of my yapping. Let's get on with it. The Bike Shop is open. All right, we are back for another edition of
Bike Shop CX.
With me, as always, on my left.
On your left, it's Mr. David Palin.
And on Mr. David Palin's left, who is that?
Dr. Tracy Berman.
Dr. T to the B.
I didn't think she was going to say anything. I thought David was going to have to say who it was.
I'm working on being less awkward.
She's asserting herself, man.
Uh-huh.
Yes, we have a special guest, Dr. Tracy Berman. Welcome. First timer.
Thank you.
Is it all you thought it would be?
It's pretty much what I thought it would
The
be.
studio is nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is nice.
It's pretty expansive.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
She was in the green room for like 20 minutes while we were preparing.
Well, I've been on recordings in the van, so this is
that's
more
right.
comfortable.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, this is a step up from the.
And the time when we went to Indy and we recorded the entire trip because we were going to use clips and snips and snaps.
And none of it came out good enough to... There was a few things... It was so funny because the things that actually came out good enough to use on the show were not interesting at all. Anything that would have been interesting, the recording was so bad. It was like, I can't use this. So, well, that's what you get when you basically have a recorder sitting on a dashboard while you're driving. Mm-hmm. I mean, what do you expect? So, all right, Mr. David Palin.
Yeah. What about Dr. Tracy Berman?
And Dr. Tracy Berman.
Okay.
What's you been up to?
Not much. This is a short week because we're recording on a Tuesday.
We're recording this a little
for some special dispensation. I'm working a little extra.
You actually
this
have
week.
to work.
Yeah,
what's up with that, dude?
I started to get really hungry. It turns out,
money is very useful.
yeah, you can't eat money, but it does buy.
It has
food.
other value
Yeah.
that you can
Yeah.
put to work. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it
So-
got really cold this winter, and I had to heat the house and everything. So it's time to go back to working a few more hours. So, yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
But the show will be out at the regular time. So
so
people
by the
know.
time this is in your ears,
Yeah.
viewers,
This is actually being recorded April 2nd.
Yeah.
Yesterday was April Fool's Day, and you know how we always get the ridiculous
Yeah.
April Fool things from all the bike companies.
Yeah.
The only one I saw
yeah.
this year, and I'm sure there were more than this, was the felt one
Oh yeah, yeah.
with the single
with
wheel.
the unicycle.
Did you see that, Tracy?
Oh yeah, I did.
Yeah.
That one
Well,
was
that's
not at all
tri-related
believable.
as well.
Yeah.
So for people
Yeah.
that don't know what we're talking about, it was basically a tri-bike with the front wheel photoshopped out, and it looked like it was a time trial unicycle.
Yeah, because they photoshopped the front wheel out, but they also moved the rear wheel to the bottom bracket.
Oh, okay. It
Yeah.
looked really good.
Although it did have a chain on it for some reason.
Well, yeah. So that was the other giveaway. I don't know if you noticed this. It had two brake levers. So
I don't
they
know
either-
about brakes.
So
You
if
know
they
better
have
than that.
so they must have two brakes on the one wheel would be the only
One canty, one disc.
can't do much.
One for when
So
you want
when
to
a
make
disc
noise.
fails,
when you
they
want
can
to
use
stop.
the real brake to stop.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of my friends actually got me really good, and she said that she was taking her fancy Cervelo tri-bike,
P7X.
off the trainer, and it cracked, and so she's getting ready to go to Worlds, and she's like, "Can I borrow someone's bike?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I just got mine redone." And then she's like, "April Fools," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, Jack."
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You're like, I just got mine redone by.
I did not name drop, but I'm sorry,
That's
Scott.
because
No, that's all
Scott,
right.
if you name dropped, you'd have so many bikes lined
I'd
up
have
here.
so much work. I wouldn't
Yeah.
know what to do.
They were all saying that David told them not to put the bikes on the trainer, though. So
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, yeah, that's the only one of those that I really saw. But I don't social
Yeah.
network, media network, or whatever it's called. Like,
You know that I listen to podcasts occasionally.
yeah,
There's one called Business Wars Daily, which is interesting. They do some one-on-one type things. So right now they're talking about Shaq versus Kobe, and they Hasbro versus Mattel, and all the different things. But they
wait. Shaq versus Kobe. Still,
Well, it's a historical thing. You're not talking about it like it's happening now.
okay. You can see how out of touch with baseball I am. Oh wait, no.
Come on, it's football, man. Get your ball sports straight.
Go ahead.
I thought it was basketball.
It's the only one that knows. That's why Dr. Tracy Berman's on the show.
That's right.
Yeah, she's going to talk about the
Ball sports?
the
No.
University
Exactly.
of Michigan Spartans. Isn't that the right one? That was in that big basketball game.
Yeah.
Right? That just
I
happened.
think.
Yeah.
I think. I know there's a tournament going on.
Yeah.
I used to be so into March Madness
Yeah.
and the NCAA
Yeah.
tournament.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. And I don't even know wwho's playing right now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Dr. T to the B will tell us about that later.
But what were you saying, Mr. David?
So they have a 4-minute everyday Business Wars Daily where they give you a business fact.
Yeah.
And they talked about how Zuckerberg had
Mr.
well,
David
we're
Palin
kind of
is
tight.
in the know,
yeah,
boy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Had talked about at the congressional hearings that he understands that there needs to be regulations, that he's going to make changes. So he is now piloting the Face Place, which are brick and mortar places for people to go to meet one another, and he will now phase out Facebook.
The Face Place. Opening up at a street,
mall near
street
you.
corner near you, right next to Starbucks, where you can then go walk over and get online.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Anyway.
I hope nobody believed that.
I wouldn't say that I did.
So, hey, Mr. David Fallon.
Yes, sir.
I have a question. Mm-hmm. What
Yes.
are you working on?
Oh, I'm troubleshooting.
Oh.
Now, you guys know I have my bottom brackets situated, clean, working like a charm.
You have total confidence in it now, right? You've put enough miles into it that you're like... or
Total
is it-
confidence
or is
is a strong.
It's just like canty brakes, right?
Yeah,
Never got that.
never. I don't know. Did you see my pictures from this weekend
Of the
canty
mud?
brakes of the mud?
Yeah, yeah.
That was frozen.
So your brake was
between
inoperable?
It was inoperable.
It was the rear, at least.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
At least.
Well, if you had to have lose one brake, you'd want it
There
to
was
be
some
the rear.
icy descents
Yeah.
where the thought of
Front braking.
is not smart.
Right.
So, yeah, you have to stop occasionally and knock the frozen mud off of that cable to...
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyhow. But that's, of course, the irony of it, right? You have to stop occasionally to make it so your brakes
to
work.
make sure your brakes work. Right.
Um,
All right.
yeah.
So go ahead.
So, back to the story. I am now having issues with the power meter, and we're trying to figure out...
Surprise.
Yeah.
Let me guess. Quark. No,
Quark.
I knew it was a quark,
Yeah.
but that would have been my first guess anyways. So go
Yeah.
ahead. I'm sorry.
So, and I'm troubleshooting it because when I use the Quark phone app, everything comes out beautiful, offsets good, calibrates nice. When I use it indoors,
Okay.
when I'm on the
Your
trainer,
rollers? Yeah.
it seems to work fine. When I go outside and I start a ride, first thing it tells me is battery's low. Then I look at it. I've used a multi-tester, and I've looked at the app.
Yeah.
It says 85% or more each time it says that.
Yeah.
And then I did 3.5 hours of dirt yesterday, and I averaged 1 watt.
Oh.
Yeah. And then I went and I actually...
Good thing it's off season.
Yeah. Then I went and...
Gravel never ends.
Right. True.
I like reinstalled the software on the Element, which
Okay.
is the computer head unit I use,
Yeah.
and went out and did it again. And of course, this had no power, and I had forgotten to pair with my heart rate strap. So I couldn't even get a heart rate training stress score, and now
Well, that's what- 'cause,
that's
you know-
why I don't ride for the enjoyment, for the the scenery, for the sense I'm getting in better shape, and this is helping me
Yes.
towards coast to coast.
Yeah.
I ride for the numbers,
Right. Of course.
And now I can't talk to Dr. Tracy Berman and say, "Look, I did a training stress score of 1."
Two things. One, wearing a heart monitor strap is so much fun to begin with, but wearing it when it's not even doing anything is even worse.
No. No, and I have yet to go to one of the either wrist or forearm heart rate straps. I think it would give me an uneven tan line, and
Right,
that's kind
and you
of
don't want
troubling.
that.
I don't
I
want
mean,
that.
That would affect your other...
But yeah, it is pretty strangely uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah.
It's terrible. Yeah, man. I go and just take a computer completely off my bike. And
You're
go
such
ride.
the soul rider.
How amazing is that?
I can't
That's because
imagine.
I mean you used to ride
I
a
can't
lot
liberate
back
myself
in
like
the
that.
early 80s and stuff. There was no bike computers. You just went and rode,
We
man.
had the odometers. Didn't you have
The clicker thing on the wheel?
no even pre that the it was like a speedometer which had a cable that attached and would spin?
Spun.
Yeah.
And this thing was like the size of a coffee mug, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think we probably had the same one. I was so excited because, I was a kid and all the other kids were playing basketball or whatever, and I was into the bike thing. I was excited that I got mine to turn over. Like you have to do 1,000 miles and it would
To
turn
get it
over.
right.
It wasn't one ride, but
My goal for the season is to flip this sucker.
Yeah. It's like when your car used to get the odometer over 100,000 miles, and it meant something.
It would flip. Yeah, you had a new car.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's
Oh,
good.
man.
All right, so that's
So that's what I'm working on.
Well, that's good.
And I spoke with Quark. Their customer service is really good.
Yeah.
And I sent them the data file. They said it looks good to us. Work on the head unit and get back to us. And they're good enough because that one is like 13 months old, or like it's not 13, but 25 or so.
Yeah.
And they're of course under a 2-year warranty. But they said because you contacted us, you can continue to work on it, and we're not going to hit you up for it. We'll consider it still under warranty.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's good.
yeah, but then you have to be without it when you send it, right? And apart from the data part, now you're without a.
When you live by the power meter, you die by the power meter.
Yeah, you know what that
You
makes
don't know
me
what
think?
to do without it. You can't
Yeah.
ride. I'm handcuffed. I can't ride. I don't have my power meter.
Pretty
Go
much.
ahead.
Which brings us exactly
Tracy's like,
to the
pretty much.
transition of Dr. Tracy Berman.
Dr. Tracy Berman, what are you working on?
Well, if we're going to stick with the power meters, I was just
yeah.
reading about power meters last night on DC Rainmaker
Yeah.
because I ordered a new gravel bike. I'm getting a Salsa Warbird.
What?
Yeah.
This is the woman that just started riding a Huckaloogie too.
Well, that's going to
Like
be my
she's going at
cross
two
bike.
opposite ends of a spectrum, though, right? An old Huckaloogie
Yep.
with canties,
Right.
to a DI2 Warbird.
Oh
Yeah.
my
Nice.
goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
that bike is just that's
I
one of the
can't
bikes you
ride
just
it.
look at and you go, oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I can't ride it if it doesn't have a power meter, so we got to get that figured out.
Yeah, so you were on DC Rainmaker. Tell us about that.
yeah.
Well, yeah, so I was looking into the Easton, is that right?
Yeah.
And he has not reviewed that one.
Oh, really?
And so I'm not.
You mean
super
the crank?
Cinch? Is that
yeah.
right?
Yep.
Yeah, he hasn't reviewed that one yet.
So you know who has one of those, right?
I do.
By the way, he's coming in tonight
The Tex Arcadian Tyler Kluge.
Yeah.
Tyler's coming into.
to Ann Arbor tonight.
Oh, he
Yeah.
just texted me last night. How are things going up there?
Maybe because he wants to know because he's
No,
going
he's
to
coming
show
in.
up here
All he
tonight.
had to do was wait 10 hours, and he would have been here. He wouldn't have had to. He wouldn't have to bother me.
Oh. You know those Arcadians, man.
Oh man.
How you doing, eh? Oh, sorry. So,
But I
tell
mean,
us about
Tyler
the
could give
Easton
you a good
cinch.
review of it. I can tell you that the installation of it is amazing. It is like so easy.
You're going to
put
want to
in.
install it like once a week. It is.
No, I don't think I need to do that. So I use a Stages left only right now, and I guess the first time I did it when I was unfamiliar with changing crank arms, that was a little overwhelming. But now I can get that pretty quick.
Yeah.
So I'm comfortable with that.
There you go.
And I like it, but my coach doesn't think it's reliable as some of them. So
Well, I am very excited about you getting a Warbird. I want to see
Thank
that.
you.
thing. What,
Yeah.
and what's the color?
it's the zebra one, the gray zebra, which
Yeah.
I've decided kind of looks like grayscale images from an electron microscope. So that's what I'm going with. there.
And so people know, like Dr. Tracy Berman would know what that looks like.
Yeah.
Most people are like, I don't know what that looks like.
Most people are, I don't know what that is. She lost me
Okay,
at gray.
just a grayscale image. So there's
Yeah.
but there is some color on it. I think
Cool.
it's yellow.
Ah, that's going to be awesome. I
Yeah.
can't wait to see that.
Yeah.
So, awesome.
Yeah, I'll see the back end of that bike a lot.
It's not true.
Mr. David Palin.
Yes, sir.
Do you want to know
Hey, what
I'm
size
working
wheels are you putting on that?
It's coming with the 700s.
700s?
Yeah.
Okay.
with? That's good.
Yeah.
I mean, because that thing is made to put wide tires on. So to have smaller wheels, you don't need to have smaller wheels to fit bigger tires. You can fit big tires
Yeah.
like it is. So
Yeah,
I like-
Justin McNally, Dr. Justin McNally that we ride with, that did Coast to Coast with us last year. He just got the Warbird, and he put mountain bike wheels on it.
like 29ers.
650
Okay.
B
Yeah.
with he got I think as wide as a 2-inch tire on there. But
Okay.
then he was actually a little disappointed, and I'm not going to talk about which tire it was because I can't speak from personal experience. But the tread was not centered well on the tire,
Ah.
and it fit in the dropouts,
Mhm.
but because of that uncentered tread, it rubbed.
Huh. On one side, I
On one
assume.
side,
Yeah.
yeah.
Huh.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah. So, anyways,
that seems crazy.
it does seem crazy. Which, of course, when I think crazy, I think Scotty D. What are you working on? Transition. There.
What a great segue. So I'm working two things that I mentioned.
Multitasking.
One, I just finished Dr. Tracy Berman's tri-bike.
Yes.
Thank you.
It came out wonderful.
Yeah.
And I was doing, so we had the guy, remember I had the guy that I was telling you about, we did, that made me think of the bottom bracket stuff, because he's switching over that Stevens road bike to it turned out it was a salsa frame. I think I said Soma on the last show,
yeah.
but it was a salsa frame, and he wanted to put as much stuff over. Well, this guy brings into the shop the other day like 3 frames, all with Chris King headsets pressed into them.
Yeah.
Different thing. He had a Surly, he had another salsa, and something else I can't remember. And then he had a silver Chris King headset.
Yeah.
And we basically spent the day switching around
color matching.
all these headsets so that he had the color combinations the way he wanted them. They had originally been put in one way, and they had all been ridden, and he had broken them back down. But now he wanted different color combinations of the same. They were all the same headset, all the same frame, just a straight 1.125" steer tube, so nothing fancy. But yeah, so we spent a good part of the day tapping out those headsets and then repressing the new ones using the Chris King adapters, of course, that I have, and repressing all those.
Don't use a screwdriver. That is not the way to remove.
I'm not talking for removing. I'm talking for the adapters are for when you press.
Oh, when you press them back in. Yeah.
The removal you can just do with the Park.
Yep.
That's one of my favorite tools, by the way. That Park headset.
Is it really?
Remover.
Yeah.
It's very inexpensive.
Yeah.
Works amazingly well.
And it's pretty simple.
It's very simple. It's never you get one of those and you'll have it the rest of your life because there's what's going to break, right? I mean,
nothing.
So, that's just one of my favorite tools. I think it's just makes so much sense. And you get the two sizes so that you have the oversized one if you ever had to use that. And man, for I don't know, $30, you got both of them and off you go. You have them forever. So,
and they're heavy too.
Yeah, they're nice. You can smack them real good with the hammer and they knock the thing out. So anyways, so that's the last thing I worked on was swapping over some combination of 3 or 4 Chris King headsets and repressing them into different frames. So there you go.
Did you see that Park Tool just came out with a new tool?
I saw
Speaking of
their
April
new
1st,
tool. Yeah, they came out with like the
Calvin.
Oh, no, I did not see
You
that.
haven't seen that?
No.
It sits on the bench.
It's called the Calvin.
It's called probably like the C 1.0 or whatever.
Okay.
And
CJ, Calvin Jones 1.0.
And you say, "Hey, Calvin," and it wakes up. And you say,
because it's sleeping.
Right. What bottom bracket do I use to install? And it answers it out. And then it'll tell you things like, "Oh, you haven't serviced your bottom bracket in the last 4,200 hours. Don't you think it's time?" You haven't seen this, I take
no,
it, from Park
I
Tool.
haven't.
Park Tools.
I'll have to go check that out.
April Fools. You should go check that one out.
I should go check that out because Calvin is awesome.
He is, indeed. And it can't get much drier of a humor than Calvin.
So, hey, guys, I'm sitting here. What are we all drinking?
Well, this was the payment for working on Dr. T to the B.
Yeah.
Brought in CX Helen.
CX Helen from Grimpeur Bros.
Yes.
Amazing.
Oh.
So I've never had this. And so this is one of the subscription brands, Tracy?
Yeah, it was a 6-month supporter subscription.
And so it changes slightly from month to month, you were saying?
Yep.
So what do we...
Talk to us about our tasting notes.
What do we have now?
I got to flip it over
Yeah,
to
we
read
brought
it.
the bag up to the studio. So.
Yeah, so this one's from Colombia, and we've got juicy, sweet mandarin with complex citrus acidity.
Oh, I was tasting this complexity.
That
was the first thing that I noticed.
It's working.
Yeah. Oh, do we have to pause here?
No. I mean, it's because the taste is so good.
Okay.
Yeah, it is really good. I had
really
one.
good.
I don't remember what bean it was, but it was blueberry tasting notes. And
I remember that one.
That was my favorite so
Yeah.
far. Yeah, David got the tasting note right away.
Nice.
It's weird because I tasted and she said, "Well, what do you taste? What do you taste?" And I thought, this is going to sound totally crazy because I can't knowingly taste it.
Yeah.
But the first thing that came to mind was blueberries.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's like, "That's it."
That's the beauty of it. These aren't it's not like flavored coffee. It still tastes like coffee,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's the main thing. I hate
That
flavored
hazelnut.
coffee. I hate hazelnut. The worst thing in the world is when someone comes to the workplace and runs a flavored coffee through the coffee maker that everyone uses. Oh my God. It ruins the thing. You got to go get another one.
I don't know
I
about
will
worst thing in the
admit-
world, but that's probably up there.
I will admit, when I get the really bad coffee from the campus coffee shop, I go with the coconut, mostly because a really good office mate liked that one, and so it's just kind of a funny thing to remember him. But it's going to be terrible anyway. You might as well go with coconut.
Coconut. There you go.
Coconut. I hate coconut.
Yeah.
I'm not a coconut fan. Yeah, no.
It's like drinking tanning oil.
It's a
Now that
texture
experience is ruined for me. Thanks.
All right. So, yeah, if people are interested, get on over to one of our show supporters and the network supporter, GrimpeurBrothers.com. Now, if you want, the CX Helen does not specifically support the Wide Angle Podium or our show. It does support Grimpeur Brothers, of course, and I think it supports Helen Wyman,
yes, still.
right? So that's a good thing.
And Helen supports, now she's like a
Helen supports
coach
everything,
of
doesn't she?
us.
I mean,
Helen is the best.
Helen equals cyclocross. I mean, it's just crazy.
And
So-
she is gracious enough that she even went on the gravel lot.
Yeah, which, you know, if you're
If
willing
she's
to do
willing
that.
to do that, she's willing to really take one for the team. Let's face it. Sorry, Doug and John.
But if you want to get the coffees that support the show are the Full Schleck and Hello Cyclocross Friends Espresso. If you buy either one of those, it helps out the network. It helps out the show. We really, really appreciate it. But I recommend the CX Helen, too, because it's very tasty.
It is indeed.
So-
I haven't had a bad cup of coffee from
Nothing.
Dan.
None of them are
Yeah.
bad. None of them are bad. Yeah, you can blindly just select one and it's going to be good. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just that it's that good. So, and it's recommended by Dr. Tracy Berman, obviously.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
and she's a
is.
doctor.
So she must know.
She knows.
All right. Well, yeah, we thank them as always, and keep up the good work, guys. Also, you can go to wideanglepodium.com, and there's a link there where you can get to Grimpeur Brothers and
Correct.
order the coffee.
Yeah, because
So-
it can be tricky to spell Grimpeur Brothers.
yes, but just you'll figure it out.
Yeah,
Google it.
we trust you.
Use the Google. So, hey, we were going to talk about this week. We were going to talk about torque. We promised last week. I think we actually promised last
weeks ago.
last
2
show
shows ago.
and the show before
Yeah.
that we would talk about torque in the next show. So
Yeah.
we were way behind on torque. Mr.
We had
David
people
Helm.
that are riding bikes that are coming apart.
You're wondering
3
why.
people have snapped their seat posts because they over torqued them.
Right. So as promised, I brought a bunch of my torque. I don't think we're going to let's not get too into like defining torque. I mean, people, you can just go look that up and
I
learn.
thought we were going to do a physics lecture here.
Do you want to?
Yeah,
no,
Dr.
No,
T.
I don't. No, I don't.
For those that don't know, and I think we've mentioned it before, but
Yeah.
Dr. Tracy Berman, her PhD's in
Applied physics.
physics.
Yes. You're
Applied,
like-
schmapplied.
Applied
It's
physics.
physics.
It's physics with a purpose. Yeah.
She could tell us what torque really is.
No, we don't need to.
Can
Do
you
that.
tell us what time is? And not time pedals. I mean, really time.
Well, but you do a lot of work with metals, right, Tracy?
Yeah. So even though my degree's in applied physics, I do metallurgy. I study metals. Yeah.
So one of the things I will say is when you torque, I was reading some stuff, and do you realize when you like do a torque setting, say to whatever 10 Newton meters or whatever,
Yeah.
only about 10% of that, and Tracy, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong.
He'll just edit it out
Only
anyways.
about 10% of that is
Yeah.
actual clamping force. The other 90% is all friction.
So I did a little bit of preparation as well, and I saw that too. And that's not something that I knew.
Yeah. Do you believe that though? Do you think that's accurate?
I mean, there's a lot of friction on all
Yeah.
those threads.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I would
like-
wonder how much, because I could see in my mind, which is not always a clean, clear place, but
There's a lot of room there.
there's a lot of things going on there. It could be, hold on, let me move this piece of detritus out of there. That it would vary depending, I would think as the torque goes up, then the amount of friction, the portion of that is friction,
the percentage that's
the
friction.
percentage would also
Yeah.
increase.
I'm sure there's a graph somewhere,
Yeah.
right? that you could do.
Dr. T?
yeah.
And a large part of the friction was actually from the head of the bolt
To the
something like
surface that
40% was the head of the bolt,
Yeah.
and then the other 50% was like the threads, and then
Yeah.
the final 10 is the clamping force or something like that. So yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting.
So, from a practical standpoint,
Yes.
you should multiply the torque setting by 10.
No.
No.
So torque your stem bolts on that carbon steer tube to 90
50.
Newton meters.
50
I
Newton
think
meters
they've
instead of
already
5.
taken the friction into account
Yeah.
when they give you the settings.
I think so. I
Okay.
think that's probably true.
That's what happens when you read the owner's manual, I guess.
And I'd say if you're going to try to have a safety factor, the joke for engineering is it's 2, so I wouldn't go above that for sure.
Okay.
Go above doubling it.
I would not go above doubling.
Yeah.
Engineering jokes.
Engineering jokes. Well, yeah, you figure out what's safe and then you multiply it by 2, and that's what you tell people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they break things.
Well, yeah, I mean,
and then they do multiple of 10, and they overload it and it breaks.
Right,
Yeah.
because they know because they can feel the torque
In their wrist.
in their wrist.
Yeah.
Right. They've been doing this for a while. I've been doing this so long, I don't need a torque wrench. So last time, Mr. David Palin, we put out that teaser. Remember, when on a bike, do you have the tendency to over tighten?
Oh, which part you over tighten?
And when on a bike, do you have a tendency
under-tighten?
to under tighten or under torque, I should say? And the answer to that is you tend to, on very tiny, small bolts, you tend to over tighten them. And on larger bolts, you tend to under tighten them, like crank bolts, for instance. If you're not using a torque wrench,
Right.
and you just kind of guessed, you'll tend to guess too low on the larger bolts and too high on the smaller bolts. So there you go.
I would have thought the opposite.
You would have thought you do.
No.
Because people are like thinking, oh, this is really big.
It's big. It can handle a big load of torque.
I think what that's evidence of is we tend to get to a certain tightness and then stop no matter what.
Yep.
Right. And think, oh, that's good. That's good enough. Right. Because we don't really have we don't have a number. We don't have data. We're just kind of guessing.
Well, we ignore data anyways.
So I brought up, as promised, Mr. David Palin, you can see an assortment of torque wrenches.
Yes.
We got the old school. Do you remember these?
I have
I
one
think
of
you
these.
said you had
Yeah.
one. This is a
I didn't think I have
Craftsman.
a bigger one because I used it on my car.
Yeah, well, that was for a car. That's
Yeah.
that's a half-inch drive.
Mine's a 3/4 inch drive.
with
Mine's
the
bigger.
3/4 inch drive torque. What were you torquing?
I don't remember.
Were you working on like diesel engines?
Yeah.
like torquing head bolts on diesel engines.
No, I think it was my bottom bracket. I mean,
and
this isn't accurate.
So people know this is the
You can use
kind-
it as a hammer.
It has, it's very heavy.
Yeah.
But it has the scale down by the handle. It has the handle that rocks, right? Remember that? So the handle pivots on a central point, and you're supposed to tighten without that handle. Only the center point is where you want to apply pressure, right?
Right.
Ideally, you want to keep that handle from pushing on one end. And then it has a needle that moves on the scale, and it moves up the scale.
It's
and
when you say a
tells
needle moves on a scale,
Yeah.
it's a physical.
There's
bar.
a physical bar-like needle that goes from the head of the wrench all the way down to a little scale near the
So
handle.
as the bar of the wrench actually flexes, that's
Yeah.
what you're measuring.
Yep, and that needle moves along the scale, and that gives you a reading. Big disadvantage of that style torque wrench. Any what do you
It's
think?
hard to read.
Yes. It's hard to read, and not only is it hard to read, but you have to be able to see the scale, right? You could be in a position where, like, you're torquing something that you are reaching over or around something,
Right,
and you can't see that scale, so it makes it very difficult to use. So, they quickly. I mean, this was something I had this back in the day too when I was working on cars, probably early '80s. I had that, and then obviously we've got like the click wrenches,
Right.
This is the style that Park makes.
Breakaway.
I did not bring. I have my Park one is at the shop, and I meant to bring it so we'd have it. But
That's what I use.
We have the Park one that you set the torque in the handle. It's just a little dial, right? You set it to the number you want. Say
Mine's smaller than that.
30 Newton meters. You got the little Park one?
Yeah.
Well, Park. Yeah,
I
Park.
have the little one as well.
Park makes two, right? They
Yeah.
make the big one and then the little one. And you set the torque in the handle. When it gets to the proper torque tightness, it makes a click sound. The head rocks, right?
Yep.
And then you get that click
Right.
lets you know. Again, big advantage of that is you don't have to be looking at it. You don't
Right.
have to see anything. You can be torquing something that you can't see, and when you hear the click, you got
After the
proper
click, you
setting.
give it a little extra just for good measure, right?
Well, that brings up a good point.
You do the other ones and you go back and check it, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
right, absolutely. If you've got multiple, like if you've got a pinch bolt, like say on a Shimano crank, right? Shimano non-drive crank. Yes.
Or if you're putting on a stages left side only.
there you go. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Any of the pinch bolt settings, you should you torque the first one. I like to do like I approximate, okay, this is about half as tight as it's going to be.
Yeah,
then I do the
right.
other one about
Go
half
around
as
in
tight,
a circle.
and then go to the other one, right, or a star, right.
Yeah.
And then once I hear the click on the first one, go back to hear the click on the second one, go back to the first one. In fact, keep going back and forth until it clicks without the bolt moving on both bolts.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then you will know you have reached the proper torque. This is mostly evident, like you said, Tracy, on crank arms. Stems is where you can do
Stems
this
is
too.
where we see it a lot.
Stem face plates. I always make sure I'm going around a few times until everything's clicking but nothing's moving. Sometimes on a seat bolt there's two bolts I've seen. Yeah, rarely, but so there's a few places, and anytime you have the like a pinch bolt setup, you want to do it like that. So yeah, the click style. The other style, of course, now we have electronic torque wrenches, right? That make an
Kids
audible
and your electronic toys.
that'll make an audible beep sound, right?
Yep, when you've reached.
Yeah, and so CDI was a CDI probably still is the
You were
leader.
so excited when you got these CDI.
Dude, CDI
keys.
torque wrenches are amazing. So CDI is owned by Snap-on still, I believe, and they're making some digital torque wrenches. Again, the nice thing about the electronic ones is you can very accurately set the value, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're not, even with the dial ones on the handles, you're
tricky, actually.
You're getting,
They're a little tricky.
you're getting it. But the nice thing too about torque is almost everything on a bike has a torque range, right? You don't have to hit perfectly on some number. You should always try and be as accurate as possible, of course, but everything has a range, and it's for this reason. Torque ranges aren't perfect. They're not measuring that number perfectly, right?
You just scared Dr. Tracy Berman.
Why?
No,
likes-
no,
Data. She's a physicist.
no. That's part
She's a
of there's
physician.
part of
She likes-
science. There's air and everything.
Exactly.
I understand that.
No, so if you look, but most things have a torque range, right?
Right.
They're always, and one of the things I always recommend people, I'm like, set things to shoot for the low end of the range.
Okay, good. That's what I did.
Yep, always shoot for the low end of the torque range, and then if that is not adequate, then you can move up the range a little bit to solve what
and you'll know
problems.
that's not adequate when you're riding on a bumpy gravel road and your bars just twist, and you're now got your teeth on your
This
tires.
is why I do more mechanic work than Mr. David Ballard.
I trust him with my stuff.
You can actually check it before you ride
Oh,
it, David.
okay. You mean you
have
don't
to
do it
just-
10 minutes before the ride starts and people are starting to show up at your house because they got tired of waiting for you?
Check it on the stand, and then you can, go
Okay.
from there. So-
But
Lesson
once
learned.
it's set, it's
Lesson
good
learned.
forever, and you never have to check it again.
right? Yeah.
Well, because
Right.
they rust in place.
Shoot for the low end of the range, move up the range if you need to, because and sometimes it's just a matter of normal wear on things require them to be a little bit tighter than they were when they were brand new. So
Right.
that's fine. And you're still in the range. So having a setting on the torque wrench handle that might be 0.2
Up or
off
down, yeah.
is not going to put you outside of that range. The range is usually fairly 5 to 10 Newton meters, even sometimes, depending on how much torque you're talking about. Bottom brackets, or stuff, you're shooting for say 40, but the range might be 40 to 50.
Right. Right.
Or something like that. So
Yeah, at 50, the shell just comes right
at
out.
50.
Just so you know.
So the digital scales are very accurate. Now people send me emails, not all the time, but they often send me emails, and they ask me.
Do they send it to bikeshopshow@gmail.com?
bikeshopshow@gmail.com. Yes, and they ask me, Scott.
Wait a minute, Dr. Tracy, you didn't kick in there. When one says
You
they
had it
all have
covered.
to say it.
No, it's good.
They say, what torque wrench do you use, right?
Yeah.
And so, hand me that, Mr. David Palin. This is my preferred torque wrench right now. This is the D-Torque Wrench DX from Toe Peak. So this is the 3/8 drive head, right?
Yeah.
3/8 drive. Electronic. See if I can you hear this? Yeah. So electronic setting by tenths.
We shouldn't have given him a toy.
You can use Newton meters, inch pounds, foot pounds, kilogram centimeters,
Yeah.
and of course, Newton meters is where I normally have it. Mostly have it set. This
Can you use foot kilograms?
You could. I'm sure there's a way to figure that out.
I think Brexit bringing up foot kilograms now.
And this is this thing. I like it because of the size. This goes in the van very easily.
Yeah,
right?
and you don't lose it.
Nice and small, but not too small that you can't get good leverage on stuff. And man, they call it. I think Topeak marketed this as like a home. But dude, I use this everywhere.
Home and away.
I have taken this on the road for several seasons now, in the van, in the drawer, and it's a workhorse, man. I love it. It is my favorite torque wrench.
I noticed it's set to 45.8.
Well, I was just
meters.
messing with it.
I was going to say because that's pretty serious.
Yeah,
it's normally set to 40. I mean, the thing I probably use the torque wrench the most is for tightening cassette lock rings.
Yeah.
Mostly Shimano cassette lock rings, and that's a 40 Newton meter. So it's always usually right around 40, and then I'll go up to 50 for some bottom brackets or stuff like that. So now, along with this...
Because I know everybody does check the torque on when they put a new cassette on, right?
They should. Well, in the pit, if I got to change a cassette in the pit, it's not getting torqued. It's getting put on with an Abbey... what's the name?
The Abercrombie and French. Yeah. The Crombie tool.
The Abbey Crombie tool, and I've been doing this so long, I don't need to use it.
Your wrists
right,
are indeed.
Yep. No, as often happens in cyclocross, everyone, the pit is a unique situation, right?
It's a veritable pit.
You do things in the pit at a cyclocross race that you don't do in the shop, right? You're doing a lot of, crazy stuff that you wouldn't do in the shop. So, but along with this, Mr. David Palin, you got the small version over there? Yeah.
Of course, because I'm little.
This Topeak...
this is like taunting me on the little one.
This Topeak small torque wrench, it's also called the D-Torque, but it's the smaller one. It only goes up to 20 Newton meters. One of the cool things I like about it's exactly the same. It's just smaller.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Except it doesn't have it's not a 1/4-inch drive. It's just a hex... opening, so you can put a hex bit straight into that, or you can put a hex bit that is a 1/4-inch drive if you want to do that. Right,
it's got an adapter.
Another cool thing that Topeak just killed it with is, look at this, the little bit holder in the case.
Yeah,
not only
it's magnetized.
It's magnetized. Brilliant.
Yes,
because these wear out. These spongy things wear out, right, and then these all fall out. Not on this one.
No,
it's magnetized. Genius. So
I'll tell you what. I did not get one of these quite yet, although I think they may be one in my future. We'll see. Right?
Yes.
The thought that goes into the Topeak packaging, and I don't mean like the cardboard and plastic clamshell packaging.
You're talking about the little case.
The cases of their things, because I noticed here that you have...
their multi-tool. Topeak is crushing it, man. Their tools are amazing right now.
We've talked about the packaging on this thing, you and I. This is just, I don't know if genius is the right word.
I'm a little envious. Yeah.
Yeah, some tool envy
so that
going
one,
on here.
they make a version. This is the little Topeak. What's that thing called?
Ratchet Rocket.
The Ratchet Rocket.
Ratchet Rocket Light.
Ratchet Rocket Light DX. But there's a version of that with a torque gauge that you can also use if you need to torque something on the road.
Yeah.
So very cool. A lot of companies are coming out with torque tools that you can carry with you, right? Like our friends over at Feedback Sports. Feedback, that they have the one with the little... Now open that up, Mr. Dave.
You can tell this one has a zipper as opposed to the Topeak, which is...
Velcro.
Nice. So, yeah, the Feedback one I actually really like. Now, a while ago, Silka made one.
Yeah.
That I didn't really care for too much because the scale was near impossible to read.
Right.
The number, I meant to bring that up and I forgot it too. This is how many torque things I have.
Yeah.
Right. The scale was near impossible to read, but the Feedback one... You use the nice thing about this Feedback travel torque tool is one, great job with all the bits, but it's only a torque wrench if you use it at the end.
Right.
So,
that's a good point because we talked about that. I know on the Torque Show we talked about that, but we've talked about it occasionally. But it's worth repeating. You do not use a torque wrench
for all the other stuff.
or for removing things.
For removing things, right. It's just not a
Yes,
good
it
idea.
does ratchet in both directions.
Yes.
But you should not use, in
Right.
general, you should not use your torque wrench to remove things.
Totally agree.
Does it mess up the calibration?
Exactly.
Indeed, it does.
Right. So you want to stick, get something.
So you have your plus or minus 10%, plus or minus another 10,
10,
15%.
15. Right. You're right.
Although many of these
and-
tools you can send back to be recalibrated.
Sure.
Right.
Yes, you can. Like the park, I think those wrenches can be recalibrated
Yes.
now. They didn't used to be, but I believe they can now. So the nice thing about the feedback, like I said, is you can, if you hold it, you can just use it as a regular wrench.
Mm-hmm.
Then you need to torque something. You just move your hand down to the little dial. You push on it, and the scale moves.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
The needle stays the same, and then the scale moves depending on the amount of force applied. So there you go. So I really, really like that tool. The other thing I like about the
This is, again, similar to the original we talked about. This would be analog,
correct,
right?
Yeah,
we've talked about the beauty of these digital tools, and you can set them and all that's great. When the battery dies in it,
you have no torque wrench.
you have no torque wrench.
But so for this, and for something that you're going to be using in a training situation on the road, this is going to get. You just don't want to crack your. Right, you don't want to crack something on your expensive carbon bike, so
Right,
you just
yeah.
want to be kind of close. Make sure you're not over tightening. The other thing I really like about that, or one of the other things, is how small the head is.
Yeah.
Because you can get that thing into places that need to have a torque setting, and it fits in there, and it's not, the head itself isn't blocking.
Right.
Like the toe peak, the smaller toe peak has a nice small head on it. I use that a lot on your bike, actually, Tracy, and it works really well to get into, because tri-bikes are always, tri-bikes have so much stuff,
Yeah.
right? It's always hard
And
to
it's
get in.
tucked away,
Yes,
hard to
it
get
can
to
be
on
hard
purpose.
to get into places to torque stuff. So
Tracy, you'll tell us whether or not it was accurate. in sense of
I
things that
trust
stay
Scott.
on versus
Yeah,
fall off.
I think it's. I'm in good hands.
All right, so that's that one. I was trying to think. There's different people are making travel ones now, but let's talk a little bit more about torque keys now,
Right.
Mr. David Pellin.
So a key difference, or the primary difference of torque wrenches versus torque keys, torque wrenches measure the amount of force you're putting on them.
Right.
Except for in the case of breakaway torque wrenches, which we've talked about, right?
So you're talking about like torque limiting wrenches, that won't go above a certain.
Or the head pivots when you reach that
right,
number, right?
Right.
Versus a torque key, which, with the exception of the Park tool, and there's probably others similar to it where you can adjust it.
Yeah.
CDI, of course, makes one as well, where you can adjust it.
Right.
The others are these torque keys. My first torque instrument was actually this one right
that
here.
one right there. So I wonder what percentage of our listening audience have that right there.
Yeah, our
I have
viewers
not
probably love
seen
the
it
Ritchie
before.
Logic.
That is the Ritchie 5 Newton meter torque key with the black handle
Yep.
that so many people have.
My only complaint about mine
Uh-huh.
was mine came from the day when there was a 4 mil head
Bit.
which was attached permanently inside.
Yeah.
So you could only use it on
4
mil
right.
bolts.
Right.
But it's a 5 Newton meter torque key,
Yep.
which is, for the most part, especially for consumers or people that work on their own bikes, that's what you need.
Yeah.
I mean, that's your seat post, generally speaking, and
Yep.
your stem bolts
Yep.
and your stem faceplate.
Yep.
5 Newton meters.
Yep.
Anything that's carbon is going to be 5 Newton meters.
Yeah, you're
in
probably
general.
going to be safe going to 5 on almost anything.
Yeah.
Even
Yep.
if it's a little, if there's something that, I mean, I shouldn't say that because nowadays we're getting torque settings with like 2.3 Newton meters, right? So it might not be applicable to those. The other thing I like about that is what you were just doing, Mr. David Pound, is spinning the end, right?
It's fun.
When it's really loose, you can spin it up quickly, get it kind of finger tight with that, and you're not going to over torque it with that because you have almost zero leverage, right? With that little handle, and then you just drop down to the thing. And the handles, I've always thought though that the handles on that, because they're so small, it's sometimes really hard to get it up to the 5 Newton meter because you don't have much leverage on the sides. That's why these CDIs. So the preset CDI torque keys are
Color coded.
They're my favorite. Yeah, color coded. You can actually. I've seen customized like these with. I've seen team mechanics with like team colors of these.
Oh,
yeah, or team logo on.
And
these.
how do they know what torque they are then?
They just read where it says 5 Newton meter.
Oh.
But a bigger handle. And the other thing, the CDI that the Ritchie is not. The CDIs are torque limiting. So we'll talk about that for a second. Is a torque limiting torque wrench will not let you go above the setting.
Right.
With the Ritchie, once it clicks at 5, I can keep
continue,
turning and it'll keep tightening.
Yep.
Right. With these CDIs, once it clicks at its preset value, if I keep turning, it just keeps clicking and it isn't turning anything
For
anymore.
an example, a lot of cordless drills, right?
Exactly the same
Right.
as that. Right.
He
You
has
get to
that
a certain
thing,
amount
it
and it
just-
just goes right, and it won't go any tighter. So, yeah, exactly the same at that. So, the CDI, probably people have seen these around races. Most mechanics have a set of these in their bag. You can switch the bits out, put whatever size bit you want. I have right here a 4, 5, and 6 Newton meter. Those are the 3 most common torque settings that I needed. But CDI also makes, and you mentioned it, Mr. David Palin.
I did.
This was the first adjustable torque key that I ever knew about, and it's also done by CDI. For people, it's a offset design, so the handle is offset to one side. It's got like a
Looks
white
like a walking
body.
cane.
Yeah, and then it's got a dial at the bottom that moves a needle up and down a scale to torque in Newton meters, and you can set that to various things. So if you're traveling, if you're a mechanic and you're flying, to just be able to toss this guy in is great because your space is limited and you want as few of things as possible. So this was out for a while. Then the CDI presets were out for a while. But then Park came out with... Park is doing both of these, right? They have their presets, right, that you can buy individually that are preset torque values. And then they have the adjustable one. This is the ATD-1. The difference is the settings on this are in 0.5 Newton meter increments. So you're limited to that, right? That is almost always enough. Again, because most of the time we're talking about a range.
Right. And it's 4 to 6. Is that what that is?
Yeah,
if
it's
I remember
4.
correctly?
Right. So it goes 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6.
Yep.
And you can adjust it to that. And one of the things I like about the Park tool
is the part that
one of the many things.
I wouldn't say dislike, but the part that frustrates me. But go ahead.
The bit holder in the handle.
Yep.
Why you don't like it? Because it always falls out.
It always falls out.
Right.
It always falls out. In the shop we use them.
Yeah.
It falls out.
Yep.
It hits the concrete floor.
And they go everywhere.
There's 3 bits that are in that holder that go in 3 different directions.
And each one is under a different bench.
Indeed it is.
That you then have to go crawl underneath.
Yep.
Well, so yes, that's why. Do the preset ones have the bits in
I don't
the
know
handle?
about the presets.
I don't know about the preset ones. I don't have the preset ones.
Yeah. So the other thing that you can do with this tool that makes it perhaps more useful is take this out and keep that on the bench. Keep it where you can see it. You have those.
Right.
Because you'll see a lot of people will have them with at least 1, if not 2,
missing
because they gave up on trying to find them. Yeah.
Of course. So I really like the new torque keys that Park has come out with. Feel very solid in your hand. And actually, if I got that one and the CDI one sitting next to it, I probably usually grab the Park one nowadays. Just because I like the way it feels
in your hand
when I pick it up.
Yeah, because the CDI, it's bigger.
Yeah.
And maybe our hands are similar size or whatever. The Park tool does.
The other things, the final torque keys that we want to talk about, Mr. David Allen, see those toe peak cases? Back to toe peak. Here, hand me one of those. Have you seen these guys? Tracy, have you seen these?
No, I haven't.
So go ahead and open one of these up. I got 3 different ones.
Christmas, I would expect.
Just take the band off and then open the little case.
I can't open it
Inside it almost looks like a bullet, right?
Why are they banded shut if they won't open easily?
I think it's because you pull this up.
and then it just
up.
You're right.
Oh, a little toolbox.
So it gives you they give you a set of 5 bits, right? A 4
I'm not doing it for her. I'm just
4, 5, 6.
He's doing it for me.
4, 5, 6. A
Yep.
T25 and I think a T15.
Right. Where do you use a T15?
A T20, I'm sorry. T20, a T25. And cool thing about these is one side is a 5mm hex.
Yes.
So you just use your hex wrench, right?
Yes.
Any hex wrench that you have. And then the other side is the hex wrench to hold the bit. And then these are preset.
So they're basically torque keys.
Torque keys, but look but they're the
It's
size.
tiny.
They're tiny.
Yeah.
Right? You could if you were carrying a multi-tool with a wrench in it, and you just want to carry a 5, you could carry that. You could carry all 3 of these, right? Very easily.
You could.
You could even tape these to the inside of your saddlebag so that they don't.
Yeah.
And then you got torque.
Okay,
you know,
I understand how it opens now.
you got the
I'm
torque
on the right page.
capability.
All right. Dr. Tracy Berman has hers open now. We can talk about it.
She's been doing that since we started talking about torque 45 minutes ago, trying to figure out how to get that open. So these little toe peak preset torque keys, I really, really like
Yeah,
because
these are
they're so
nice.
small. You always have a 5mm hex key around just about when you're working. I use these in the shop a lot because I just let them sit on the bench top. And I go to these all the time to use. Yeah, exactly. Put it on your multi-tool like that, and now you have a torque. Basically, have a torque wrench. So, very, very useful. Again, toe peak, well done.
Yes.
chapeau.
And packaging. Again.
Packaging,
Packaging
beautiful,
is clean.
Yep.
Takes a little while to figure out, but
There you go. Toe Peak, they're from Foxborough, Massachusetts.
I did not.
Yes.
I-
That, of course, is next to
but it doesn't surprise me that you.
Sharon, Massachusetts.
Did you know that?
Where I grew up. Yes,
Oh,
indeed.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Toe Peak.
I'm glad they're
Swing by
famous.
the house.
I'm glad they're famous for something besides you being from there.
Yes, indeed.
All right.
Foxborough is where they play that pigskin ball sport.
Okay.
Football. That's where
The one that's not round.
the New England Patriots play in Foxborough,
Yeah,
Massachusetts.
you have to talk into your mic.
This is new. I'm new to this.
I know.
thing. Yeah.
Tracy, I know it gets edited out,
Oh.
but I have to remind him of that almost every single
No,
week.
it doesn't. It won't be
he
edited
gets
out
excited.
Gets excited.
It's hard to stay in one place.
either. Now we know what is going to be the little vignette that they'll use on the WAP.
On the end, yeah. So, all right, is there anything else we want to talk about torque? We covered a lot of different torque wrenches. I have a few other ones that I just didn't think to bring that I have at the shop. But this basically gets the idea across. I
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
Really liking the D torque from Toe Peak. Both sizes are great. If I had to only get one, I'd probably get the large one.
And I'd probably get the small one.
It has a greater range of stuff. And again, so for those ones with the range, they tend to be most accurate in the center of the range.
Right.
When you're not at the extremes. The other nice thing, CDI, here's another great thing about CDI is when you get those preset ones,
Right.
on the back of the package,
It tells you the name of the lady that.
handwritten and initial and signed or initialed, I don't
Yeah.
remember exactly, is the 3 or 4
People, yeah.
testings that they did. So like if you have the 5 Newton meter, it'll say test 1 was 5.1, test 2 was 5.0, test 3 was 5.1, test 4 was 4.9 or something like that. And then that's signed as the person that calibrated that. So
Yeah.
nice little touch, right?
Yeah.
You really have confidence in something like that when you see that on the back, written right on the back of the cardboard of the bubble wrap, right?
Yeah,
of
it's
the
amazing that
packaging.
they just stamped those on there.
Right.
No one's ever
well,
really
they
doing
were all
any of it.
different,
Yeah.
so I'm
Well, I'm
thinking that they're
picturing
not.
like the undergrads recording data in my lab, and I don't know if I would have the same confidence, but
There you go.
it's a nice touch.
That's right.
They're actually rolling dice to
They've
come up
done
with
the
those
test
numbers.
once.
I mean, yeah.
They've done the test once, and they know, well, we'll do one a little bit higher, one a little bit lower, and one that's just totally out of range.
Oh God, you guys!
She always makes fun of the undergrads.
No, I've had some really good students.
Yes.
The other nice thing about these CDI presets,
Yes.
they show you with an arrow which direction
Turn only
to use
this
them.
way.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah, they
not
say-
back. Do not loosen with this. Yeah. Very.
That's really helpful. Then you don't have to use your hand to figure out The right hand rule,
That's
whether
where I
you're
was
going in or out.
Lefty, loosey,
non-
righty. How do I make my
No,
hand
you just
make an
use the
R?
right hand.
Yeah.
The
Right hand rule.
non-mechanics with us. All right. Well, that covers it for our torque wrench discussion. If people have any questions on torque or torque wrenches or want to know, hey, what do you think about this one? Have you ever used it? If I haven't used it, I'll tell you I've never used that. So.
Yeah.
But if it's one that I've used way more than just the ones we've talked about here. Yes, send an email to where, Mr. David Pellin?
Dr. Tracy Berman.
Oh, no.
I personally,
Yeah.
I would just send it to bikeshopshow@gmail.com.
That's
Okay, bikeshopshow@gmail.com.
there we go. bikeshopshow@gmail.com.
3 out of 3 bicycle riders
right.
agree.
We all got it right.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. So, Mr. David Pellin, do you
Yeah.
have life insurance?
I do.
Tracy, do you have life
I
insurance?
shouldn't say that in front of Dr. Tracy Berman because I ride with her a lot, and she may be looking out for the best interests of my kids. Kind of push me a little bit. We were doing bumping drills the other day, and I think that she was going to put me in a ditch.
David was bumping me. I'm not bumping anybody. I think I do. I just give my husband all the passwords to sign
Isn't
up for
that
my
kinda
benefits.
scary? The person who has a vested interest in that life insurance
Right.
being used, you shouldn't trust it. I like Greg. He's a nice guy, super nice guy. But
No, we're just kidding. So, one purveyor of life insurance, Health IQ.
healthiq.com. It's not health insurance.
Go to healthiq.com/WAP for wide angle podium and fill out, do the survey. It's so easy. It takes no time. If you don't have life insurance, or if you're thinking of maybe I could get a better rate on this
Indeed.
on this crazy life insurance I have, go there. Some few easy questions that you ask that you answer, and if you score elite, you get the elite
discount.
rate. Yeah. It's awesome thing. healthiq.com/WAP.
healthiq.com/WAP.
And you might ask, how do they do this? How do they know? And it's so simple, right? If you lead an active lifestyle,
Yeah.
and you could, as a very active person, skew certain metrics that are used to determine how healthy a person
how
is.
it used to be looked at, right?
Correct. So what Health IQ is doing is saying, hey, let's look at very active people and actually give them a break, because they're instead of it triggering problems, let's actually realize, hey, these are actually beneficial things because this person is so active. Let's give them a break. They're healthier, therefore they're lower risk.
Yeah.
Therefore, we should give them a better rate, not take that
I took
ourselves.
the quiz.
Yes.
And it asked, do you ride with Dr. Tracy Berman? And it said that I was at a higher risk by trying to keep up with Dr. Tracy Berman. They were afraid my heart was going to explode. But maybe that was just me. I don't know. She's just looking down at that power meter and
goes.
I cannot keep up anymore.
Yeah. So healthiq.com/WAP. Check it out. Support the people
that support our sport.
Exactly. All
That'd
right.
be a cool hashtag.
That would be.
Yeah.
So, Mr. David Pellin.
Yeah.
We have some questions. Are you ready?
We have questions and we have answers.
We got 3 questions this time.
I should look at them.
And I'm glad that we have Dr. Tracy Berman here to help us answer them.
Yes. We haven't even sent her the questions in advance.
No, but she'll hear them. She'll hear them.
I'm working on my improv. It's okay.
All right, this one is kind of cool, and I'm sure we'll all have input on this because it's not real technical or anything.
No, I think
it's not even really a bike question.
Right, and I think this one will be perfect for Dr. T to the B, because I think this really fits into her life today. And we'll
this is from,
go with that.
I'll read this one. This is
Go
from
ahead.
Jeff, and it says, Dear Scotty D and Mr. David P., I've got an adventure bike that I love, and CX A and B bikes that I love, and a fat bike that I love, and a mountain bike that I don't really love.
Oh,
But that's been supplanted by the fat bike. Then there's the single speed and the folders, and yes, I know I have a problem. My question
what's his
is,
problem? Wait a minute.
dude, I know what your problem, Jeff, is.
You don't
need,
like your
you need
mountain
more
bike.
bikes.
Yeah.
You don't have enough bikes.
You need a mountain bike that you love.
Exactly. My question isn't really a bike question at all. My question concerns storage for this fine fleet, specifically rolling storage, as in a Sprinter van. What? I've got a pretty good starting point, I think. Pro mountain bikers Jill Kintner and Brent Atkinson recently posted this gem to social media. It's an Instagram picture.
I wouldn't be looking at these, but I know that here at our studio, it would take me 20 minutes to download a picture, and it would use up all the data.
Video, and my monthly bandwidth would be gone. But I looked at them, and it's a beautiful van. It's got diesel-powered heat, solar-powered electricity, which powers light entertainment, and a fridge, compressed air, water, a work table, and, room for bikes. 6 bikes. As van lifers yourself,
yes,
I'd love to get your thoughts on what I should look for, anything that's missing, anything I might do different. Thanks for a continually great show, Jeff.
And as I said, go ahead.
Jeff is the 545 Velo CX technical director and a wide-angle podium network hero.
Nice.
So we got to give a really we can't fool around with this one. We got to get serious.
Press one of those buttons. Can you play Jukebox Hero on this thing?
Wait, let me see.
You're scaring me every time with that. No.
So we tried to do these sound drops last week, and they didn't work.
They didn't work.
So we should give ourselves a.
But I made a really funny joke, and I tried to reach over for that light blue one.
Yeah.
And light blue one.
This. The rim shot.
And it got us nowhere. Yeah. All I heard was when I tried for that one, was this.
I can see this is going to be a problem.
I can't see this. Are these labeled? How do you know what colors
They're
what?
just colored lights. I do have like a card that I can write the names on. For people that are wondering.
David just has them memorized now.
David just knows what they are.
I know my two.
Yeah.
Okay.
The rim shot and the crickets.
So, all right, let's get back to Jeff's question. The Sprinter van. I looked at that Sprinter van. I don't see. There's certainly that thing is beautiful.
Yeah.
There is no glaring thing that you're going to miss.
Is it wrapped?
I don't think it was wrapped.
That's important.
So there you go. You could get a Bike Shop CX wrap
on
that. I can tell you where I went and got mine, and you could go to Cincinnati and get yours if you want. There, Jeff.
Tinted windows?
The thing is, that van is more of a living van, which if that's what you need, that's great. My van is more of a workshop van.
Right.
That I then, when I need to sleep, I just open up a cot in the middle of it and sleep there.
You could sleep right on top of the benches in yours.
Right. Some people have.
Yeah.
Small people. So, it depends. If you want a workbench inside, then obviously this van did not have that, right? It's got great bike storage. It's got the sliders on the back where you take your front wheel off and you can slide bikes under the bed, the bed that's above it. Yeah, that's a common design, which is cool. The diesel heat is awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're asking for this price-wise, but that diesel heater is a very expensive add-on. It's like a $5,000 thing to have on there. It uses diesel fuel right from your fuel tank, so you don't have to have like a separate diesel tank or anything that you're keeping full or anything like that.
Right.
It's well vented and everything, so you're not going to asphyxiate yourself. But that's a great
because we're looking for ways
to
increase our carbon footprint out there.
Well, when you're getting ready for a cyclocross race, in November, and it's raining.
Matt Anthony.
And you're freezing.
Yes.
Yeah, you're okay with a little diesel heat.
Full show. Yes, for sure. Yeah.
So that thing is great. That thing is awesome. I will say, as far as working on bikes, I was very pleased this past year at the Indy race at Major Taylor when I was working on the Texar Canadian Tyler Cloutier's bike. To be able to do that inside, because it was freezing cold, pouring rain outside. And if I had to work on his bike outside, even with a tent, I would have been freezing cold.
And his bike would have been dangerous to ride.
His bike would have been, nothing would have been torqued properly on that bike.
Yeah.
So it was nice to be able to stand up in my van with the workbench right there, put his bike on that, and be able to work on it in the van, keeping it warm, keeping it clean, keeping it dry, and be able to do that. So it's always a trade-off, right?
I think
it's what are you going to
Right. Are you going to live in the van, or are you going to work in the van?
Right, exactly.
Maybe you need a trailer. Pull a trailer to live in and to work in the van.
Or just come to that realization, right? If you do no, all right, I might have to have a way to be able to work in bad weather, a quick way to set something up outside to be able to work in cold, wet weather, because I can't do it in my van, like kind of like I do with the sleeping thing. I have to have a way to convert it to sleeping. So, so I don't think it's missing anything. You're just going to have to, any van is limited in one way or the other. So just figure out what those limitations are and come up with solutions for those as you approach a race.
Think of that as the challenge, right? That's the challenge. That's kind of the fun of this van life thing. Yeah.
Right, is that you have to make sacrifices. You have to decide one way or the other on a lot of things. So, all right, Jeff, I hope that answers your question, at least in a roundabout way. So, hey, Mr. David Palin, do you want to read the next one?
I do indeed. Now, the next one comes from Jeremy. We don't know where Jeremy's from, or do you know and you just didn't tell me?
I don't know. I can't remember.
Okay. Hey, SD and MDV.
MDV?
Mr. David.
I think he forgot the P.
Oh, okay. I can't help him with that.
Mr. David.
Okay. MDVV, Mr. Dave Bay. I've seen various approaches on how to torque to a given spec. Notably, I've seen it specified as a given torque plus a quarter turn for certain bolts on my car. On the other hand, I've seen people say that you should set the torque to slightly less than spec to avoid over-torquing. I've always just dumbly set it to whatever the spec says and stopped when the wrench clicks. Have I been doing it wrong? Is my bike on the verge of shattering into pieces from over-tightened bolts? Or am I going to cross the finish line with all of the various components from my bike strewn along the course due to under-tightening? Also, when and where should I be using thread locker, and what type? Thanks for the show. Hopefully the two of you will make it up to Midland for Pan Ams this year, and I'll get to say, hey there.
I would love to make it to Pan Ams this year.
In person.
I don't know if it's going to happen. Maybe.
Yeah. I was talking to PT about that.
Yeah.
And
P.T. Barnum.
P.T. Barnum,
Hancock,
J.B.
the
Hancock.
P.T. Barnum of Michigan Cyclocross.
Indeed.
Is that who you're referring to?
I was referring to P.T. Barnum.
Who is putting on a
Glen
Ramble
Ramble,
on June 8th this year.
which we will both be at.
Yes. Okay.
I get confirmation that I'm not working that weekend.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, that guy.
All right. And
And
you said you were talking to him about going to Midland.
yeah, we were talking about going to Midland.
That was the end.
It's not everything has to be complex, long story. Just most of the stuff with me.
All right. So, Jeremy, let's break this all down. How to get to a given spec.
I think we should do a show on that.
We should, actually.
We could.
What you're doing is not the dumb way to do it. What you're doing is really the way you should be doing it. Again, shoot for all these torque settings should have a range. I know when you look at your stem, it might say, as your stem said the other day, Tracy, when I was torquing it, 9 Newton meters.
9 Newton meters for a stem. That's
tight.
That's tight,
I was kind of surprised by that.
Did you hear the crackling sound?
Yeah, I tightened it until it cracked, and then I backed it off a quarter turn. So
yeah. Don't worry. If something happens, the carbon bars will just bend.
So you say, well, there's no range there. There's a built-in range there.
Right.
They're probably shooting for the center of the range with that number.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure. You'd have to look at your specific manufacturer. There's no one technique that every manufacturer uses across the board, right? If you really want to do it the way, you should know, okay, how is this manufacturer recommending I torque this bolt?
Right.
Or not, whatever you're torquing, your manufacturer somewhere has a way to do it. There's the generally recognized ways of doing it are what we've already stated, right? If there's a range, shoot for the low end of the range, and then add to that without going beyond the top of the other end of the range. Add to that as needed to keep things tight. When should you use thread locker? You should use thread locker whenever you're supposed to. Which is hard to say.
That was helpful.
Yeah.
Which is hard to say because
Dr. Tracy Berman had her pen out. She's getting ready to write down what you said here.
I'll do that when I listen to the show later.
Yeah.
It's a manufacturer thing, right?
Yep.
It's how are they figuring that you should use this? Places that you're probably going to use it almost always are
stem bolts,
threaded bottom brackets, stem bolts. trying to think of other like 100% of the time. Seat post, I would always put a drop on that.
Yep.
Some of them have
Cleats.
that. Some of them have the cleats. Some of them have that thread locker on them, and that is actually meant to be used over and over again. So that's okay. You don't have to reapply that every single time.
Chainring bolts,
but it is limited, right? It will only last so long, and then you're going to have to start applying your own thread locker. Yes, stem faceplate bolts. I always put thread lock on.
Chainring bolts.
The thread locker I use is the Loctite 242 or 243 or the equivalent.
Right.
A lot of since that they kind of set the standard. Loctite kind of set the standard. Other companies will say this is a Loctite 243 equivalent or a Loctite 242 equivalent. They also now you can't. This is not a universal rule, but they tend. Unlike the grease, remember when we talked about grease and why is grease different colors? And it's really because that's what those manufacturers chose to color it. And each manufacturer kind of colors it their own color so that they can identify which grease it is. Thread locker has kind of been a thing where the manufacturers are following a pattern, right?
Right.
The lightest ones are the purple ones, the really, really thin ones. Then there's the light blue, then the red, or then the green, right? So in Loctite, in thread locker, they've kind of, all manufacturers are kind of following that. So the light blue one is the 242, 243 equivalent one that most mechanics use. There are some instances where you can use the purple one, the really light one. In fact, most instances that can be okay.
It's probably
too.
Enough, but it's
if
not.
If that's all
common.
you have, and then use it for sure. It's not going to damage anything. So one of those two, the red stuff is where you get into the permanent, quote unquote permanent. I generally don't use that on anything threaded on a bike. However, you can use the red stuff for certain things that are supposed to be press fit that are loose. That the press fit is kind of loosening up a little bit from wear or whatever. You can use the reds because that will still, you can still pop that out. Because it doesn't have as much surface area because it's not threaded. You can still get that out even with the
semi-permanent.
It's semi-permanent, even with the red Loctite. So there's headset instances where I've used red. It's a little stronger, but I've still been able to get the headset out, right? But I want something a little bit more than the blue is gonna provide. So there you go, Jeremy. I hope that answers. Is there any part of Jeremy's question that we didn't answer?
Just about his car.
Am I going to cross the finish line with the various components of my bike strewn along? No, remember, it's a range. Torque wrenches aren't perfect. It would be a range even if it wasn't a range because torque wrenches have a slight variance in them. So you're always going to be shooting for that torque range. All right, we're on to the last question, Mr.
Yeah,
David.
I think that one the one that
for me to read, or is Tracy going to read
I think
this?
Dr. Tracy's going to read this one.
All right, go ahead, Dr. Tracy.
She's reading her cue cards now. Let's see how good she is.
Well, it says Scott, David, and Bill, so I guess I'm
Hey,
Bill.
you're Bill.
Bill with a voice change,
Yeah.
a slight voice change. College student who recently got really into cycling and specifically cyclocross. That's not really a sentence, but that's okay.
She goes right into professor mode.
So
correcting papers.
This is from Joseph. Joseph sent this.
I'm sorry, Joseph.
That's okay. Joseph sent this to the feedback at the Crosshairs Radio, and Bill has forwarded this to us. So
thank you, Bill.
I'm sure Joseph meant I tell you what, college student.
I'm sure that Joseph had this correct, and when
I think
Bill
Shiken,
sent it to us, he
did
butchered
it. Shiken did something to it, I'm sure.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, it's good. Okay.
Sorry I'm apologizing for Bill, Joseph. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tracy.
I'm originally...
It's okay because Bill doesn't listen to our show anyways.
No, he doesn't know what we're talking about.
He won't know.
Okay. I'm originally from Iowa City, so Jingle Cross has always been a big part of every year.
Well done.
My question is about how the pros train and which bikes they use. They obviously have their main CX bike, but when they are doing longer rides that are just on roads, do they have a road bike or a separate set of road wheels for their cross bike? I recently purchased my first real bike, a Raleigh 2018 RXM.
Nice bike.
And I am unsure how I should go about road riding / group rides. Would you guys recommend getting a set of road tires for my CX bike or getting a cheap road bike, which have to be pretty inexpensive, as I am a college student on a budget? Thanks for the input, Joseph.
We've all been there. All three of us sitting here have been at the
college student
the
on a
poor
budget.
college student on a budget.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did you go ahead, Mr. Dave Pound? Did you want to give your thoughts?
I mean,
on
I
this?
was going to say,
I was
I
gonna say-
still don't have a road bike
Yeah.
because I went straight into triathlon, and obviously I'm not going to use that in
So Dr.
group
TB
rides.
has 2 tri-bikes,
Yeah.
I'm trying to
3
give one
cross
away.
bikes,
Yeah.
and a commuter bike,
And a steel commuter, but no road bike.
but no road bike.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I am
So
doing
you know
the,
Dr. TB's answer.
Don't get a road bike.
Don't bother.
Yeah.
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 I went to New England. I know we've talked about this on the show before. I spent a year and a half in New England, and the only bike I took with me was my cross bike
Yeah.
and a set of road wheels.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're new to group riding, you don't know all the etiquette and stuff, put on some nice road tires or road wheels,
Mm-hmm.
clip on aero bars, and jump in with a group. They will love having you.
All but the clip-on aero bars, I think.
Yeah.
is-
Okay.
So, Joseph,
Yeah.
the last thing I would do is buy an inexpensive road bike.
It's I
I would
mean,
not do that.
to Joseph's point that what do the pros do? The pros use the bike that their bike sponsor sent them.
Right.
They spent less on that bike than you're going to spend on any bike, right? The pros
Exactly.
are out there on equipment that's given to them.
Yeah.
Often.
So, I mean,
Often.
yeah,
So it's really a moot point to what we're talking about. For you, Joseph, the money spent would be much better spent on a good set of wheels.
yeah.
Or even you don't even have to go that far if you don't want. Just switch tires, swap out tires.
Yeah, that's what he says in here is tires. I personally, having done that, it's easy to swap tires, but it is a hassle. Like you're getting up in the
Indeed.
morning and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
group ride on
I
the
gotta
road.
put my
and
road
Yeah.
tires
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. Now, if you're gonna say, okay, during the summer or for the next 4 months, I'm gonna ride with the road guys and women, and I can swap the tires out once and ride all summer on those tires. That's a little more straightforward. But if you indeed have to say, okay, on Wednesday nights I'm going to do the group ride, and on Thursdays I'm going to do cyclocross practice.
You're going to get up at 5 a.m. to ride with David, and then you're like,
Oh, yeah. Not just because it's riding with David, by the way. That's part of it. But yeah.
No, I think you guys are spot on. I wouldn't buy an inexpensive road bike. I would probably, if I was going to do that, I think when you're asking what do the pros do, the pros do all of the above, right?
Yep.
Certainly, some of them have a nice road bike that they go out and train on the roads, right? And there's also many of them that just use their cross bike. They'd rather be on their cross bike in a similar position that they are going to be racing cross
Right.
on and just put road tires on it. Or better yet, Joseph, is get another set of, if you can somehow get another set of wheels, a set of road wheels that you can be dedicated to leaving the road tires on. It takes much less time to swap out wheels than it does tires. I understand this is a bigger expense than just tires alone, but like Tracy said, if you just do the tires, you're like, oh, I gotta do the tires, and you end up not doing it, and then you're out on your cross tires on the road and you wear them out, and then I
tell you-
really like having a dedicated set of road wheels that I can put on the cross bike and go ride it on, and even like I'll do something like a Hutchinson Sector, those 28 Hutchinson Sectors.
Yeah.
So that if you're on your cross bike and you're on the road and you see a nice little dirt road over there, you can be like,
Hey, let's try
yeah,
this
these
out.
28s are actually pretty good on
Yeah.
gravel. I'm going for it, and off you go,
Yeah.
and you're fine on the gravel too. So that'd be the point I'd be shooting at to get to. And then when the pros ride single track, they're going to be on their mountain bike or their fatty or whatever.
Right.
So they do all of the above. There's not like one specific thing that they do.
And I would expand it just a little bit further. Swap tires, maybe for until you can cobble together the money to buy a set of wheels. And I wouldn't buy a set of road wheels, actually. I'd buy a second set of cross wheels and put road tires on them. Because come cross season,
All right, yeah,
you're going to be happy to have another
A backup set of wheels.
that
Yeah,
you could
sure.
use
Sure.
that, today is wet and cold and muddy. And the last thing I want to do is change tires in this wet,
Right.
cold, muddy weather, so I can just swap out wheels.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Good point.
And
Good
I
point.
had another thought. So instead of getting a road bike, If you do have a little extra money, if you can get your cross bike fit, and so you have one bike that fits well as opposed to two poorly fitting bikes, you're going to be way better off.
Way better off.
See, this is why we have the doctor.
No, that's a really good point. Yeah, a well-fitting cross bike you're just gonna be way happier with that period than getting any inexpensive bike you're not gonna be happy with. Although an inexpensive bike with really good wheels is better than a better bike with crappy wheels. I will say that.
Wheels are key. They truly are. People kind of underestimate the importance of
for
wheels.
Sure. So, all right. Well, that's our questions for this time. So send more questions if you have questions about anything or just in general. Hey, what should I be doing right now with my cross bike? Right?
Yeah.
It's probably
you should be riding.
It should be in parts hanging on. No.
You
should
Scotty
be riding
D, you'll do that. You'll strip everything down after every ride. I get it.
On your stable, Mr. David Palin.
I'm unstable.
If you have like something like a warbird, then your cross bike can sit in pieces.
No, that's your backup still, just in case.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. David Palin. So if people want to get in touch with you on social media, where should they do it?
They should get in touch with me at Mr. David Palin on Instagram, on Twitter, and they should get in touch with me with the hashtag April CX Challenge. That's what we
forgot to talk about. We were just sitting here like, what did we forget? Hey, have you guys been following the April CX Challenge on Instagram?
I have. It came as a little bit of a surprise to me, and then I was like, "My brother is a genius."
I didn't give Mr. David Palin any warning.
No, he didn't, and I'm not really good at reading his writing. Usually I get emails from him, and we talk.
You know, one thing I just realized.
What?
Dr. Tracy Berman has no more motivation to compete in the April CX Challenge because she's just been on the show.
I assumed I was ineligible.
So she's the April CX Challenge winner.
On the second day.
On the second day.
So for people that are wondering what the heck are they talking about, it is on Instagram, okay? And it is a hashtag that I posted. It's called the hashtag April CX Challenge. And if you go to my account at bikeshopcx, I posted a list of items, 30 items, one for each day of April. April has 30 days, right?
30 days. That's
one for each day. One for each day of April, and it is a general theme that you should use your imagination with.
Yeah.
Some people have sent me questions already. Very like, what is it? What does that mean? Or it's like, don't sweat it. Right? Use the theme. Be creative and push the limits of what the theme for the day is. Right. And come up with whatever you want. Taking a picture and posting it to your Instagram account with the hashtag April CX Challenge, and we're gonna pick a winner somehow. We don't even know how we're gonna pick a winner. It could be. Someone could win it, maybe. It's
a
possible.
Random number generator, because you love those.
I like dice. So,
you had to get them started.
So, if someone took one amazing picture, they could potentially win it with one amazing picture. Here's the other thing I want to say about it. If you've missed the beginning of the April CX Challenge, it is perfectly fine to go back and post pictures later.
We won't check the dates.
It's now the second day. So the theme for today is,
by the time you're listening to this, viewer, it will not be the second day.
Right. But the theme for today is boa, buckle, or laces. Right. Mm-hmm. All kinds of ways to interpret that.
Yeah, Dr. TB was talking about travel try hard.
She's like,
and
buckles and laces.
I read lace as opposed to laces. So
maybe it is lace.
My thoughts went the wrong way, I think, with the buckles and the lace.
So obviously the implication is shoes, but people can come up with all kinds of stuff.
Oh, shoes. Sorry.
And so do whatever you want. Take a picture, tag it April CX Challenge. It helps if you put what day you're posting for. But if you're coming into it late, you can just pick it up on the day that it is and go. But if you see, I wish I had seen this for the theme, show your colors like yesterday, go ahead and post that. That's okay. You don't have to do it. Try not to post early.
No,
right?
Don't give it away.
Don't post a theme ahead of time, but it's okay to go back and post a theme that won't count against you.
Right.
And then we're going to look at the overall, how did people post for the whole month? You don't have to post every single day of the month to win.
Right.
But it might help. right?
Could.
If someone is posting really...
Given that we have no criteria, it may help.
If someone's posting really solid pictures every single day,
Yeah.
that's going to be tough to beat without posting every day. But,
Yeah.
it's hard to post every day. It's really challenging to do 30 pictures.
Do you have 30 pictures already lined up?
30
Did
days in a
you
row.
see Alex's from today? Killer
Alex?
Sim?
No.
Oh, it's really professional. So she's already blowing it out of the water.
her
like,
first
she
one-
day
is
one and
professional.
two.
They
Her
don't get more
first
professional
picture
than
She
was
is.
amazing.
No,
Yeah.
Yes.
you should
So,
check it.
Yeah, we don't say enough nice things about Alex, actually.
I bought 2 of her cat pictures.
Nice.
I am
awesome.
a Patreon.
She's a Patreon.
Oh,
I know.
yeah, of
Yeah.
her work.
I should be too. I feel bad. Sorry, Alex. But I did buy 2 of her cat pictures, and they're so cool. I just had them framed. So yes, you don't have to post every single day to win, but it might help. But it's like I said, it's hard to get 30 pictures. So it might be we might not get someone that posts every single day. So
Right.
there you go. And what do you win if you win? If we decide this is the person, this is it, you get to be on the show.
Yeah.
And by be on the show, I don't mean you
we
get
fly
to
you round trip.
I don't mean you Skype into the show for 5 minutes. If you live far away and we're going to do it via Skype, you're going to be on the whole episode, just like Dr. Tracy Berman was this week. Mm-hmm. You get to be on the whole show. So if you have a cause that maybe you're doing a charity ride this summer,
Right. Yeah.
and you want to give that a shout out, we will give you time to sit and talk about that and tell about how awesome your charity ride. Maybe you have a cyclocross team that you ride for, right? And you want to talk about your cyclocross team, you're going to get time
Yeah.
to do that.
I can
Whatever.
see some people in New Jersey doing some really cool stuff, and some
it's-
people in Indy.
As long as it's cyclocross or
Kentucky?
just bike related in some way, and you want to talk about what you're doing, we're going to let you do that. Not for the whole show, but you're going to get enough
Within
time.
reason.
You're going to get enough time to talk about what you want to talk about, and we will probably dedicate what we usually use as the technical section to talking to you about whatever thing.
Back to our old interview show days.
Yeah,
Right?
and you're like, someone might be like, well, I don't fit into any of that. I don't race on a team. I don't do that. Then you can talk about someone else. You can be like, hey, you know what? I think Helen Wyman is amazing, and what she's doing is awesome. I
Yeah.
want to talk about that.
Yep.
That's what we'll talk about.
Yep.
So
we
there
can
you go.
listen to stories about your cats, whatever. we're good listeners.
You essentially get to set that segment of the show within reason, of course. I had to say, I get the final editing is still going to be done by me.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're hoping I'm hoping someone wins and tells us about some organization or something that I don't even know about yet,
Right.
And like opens my eyes to that. I think that would be really, really cool. So yeah, get over to my Instagram page. It is just at BikeShopCX, hashtag April CX Challenge, and get involved. It's already been really fun the couple days that it's been going on, and jump in at any time, and just participating is just fun because people. It might the beauty. One of the beauties of this, Mr. Dave Palin, is even by just participating in this, it can bring people are following the hashtag,
Right.
And they might see your cool post and be like, "Oh, this is somebody I should be following on Instagram,"
Right.
And you might even get followers for yourself, even though it's not your competition. So
And either way, it does build our community.
Right.
And we all get a laugh together.
yes, exactly. That's what it's about. Is having one of the category. I forget what day. The theme is just fun, and so like you can go all kinds of
Yeah,
crazy.
but don't bring laces and buckles in with fun.
All right, so I hope everybody gets over there and gets involved in that. It's really cool. Been really cool so far. We've got some good entries for day 1, and I'm excited to go check for day 2. So I think I'm going to do that, Mr. David Fallon. Dr. Tracy Berman, do you want to give any social media things if people want to follow you?
Mine are not all the same, so it's confusing.
Do you want to give
and,
one? Or no? It's okay if you
Well,
don't.
Dr. Tracy
easiest-
Berman is I don't know if she's being forgetful or just modest. Dr. Tracy Berman is an ambassador for the Supermint USA team.
No,
Yeah, that's true. So you can check out Supermint USA
There you go.
on Instagram and follow that. They're a road team, so I shouldn't have said anything about not getting a road bike. Road cycling is the place to be.
I'm changing that.
Can we edit those back?
I'm changing my opinion right now.
And it's
Cool.
But yeah,
TR.
TRAD is in dog, IASA. is
On
on
Instagram.
Instagram. Yes.
Awesome. And you can get me, Scott Diedenbach, at BikeShopCX on Instagram is the best way to do it. Also at BikeShopCX on Twitter. I don't check Twitter as much anymore. Or questions, comments, concerns, whatever. Send them to where, Mr. David Pellin?
bikeshopshow@gmail.com.
bikeshopshow@gmail.com.
And in case you didn't hear it, it's bikeshopshow@gmail.com. All right, you guys, thank you so much for being on with me.
This was a blast. We should do it again.
Yeah, we should.
Thank you. It was fun.
Are you going to say anything, Mr. David Pellin?
With that, the bike shop is closed.
I can't believe we've gone to where I have to remind you. All right, that's going to be it for the show this week. I hope everybody dug it. If you get a chance, get on over to one of our sponsors, Grimpeur Brothers, healthiq.com/WAP, or the Wide Angle Podium itself. Do the survey, buy some coffee, become a member, all good things, and we really, really appreciate it. And if you want to have some fun, get over to Instagram and check out the April CX Challenge. And don't take it too seriously, guys. Everybody is people get really nervous, and I'm getting all kinds of questions, and it's very, very relaxed and casual. So there's not many rules. So just go and have fun taking some Instagram pictures. It gives you a reason to post some pictures of all your cool stuff that you have onto Instagram. So yeah, get over and check that out. Hashtag April CX Challenge. All right. I hope everybody is getting out there and riding in this beautiful weather that we're having. If you are getting out there and riding, you know the drill. Be careful out there, guys. Take care of each other out there. And until next time, the bike shop is closed. Why did I not hear clicking? All right. Tracy, say something else.
Good morning.
Very good.
I didn't hear any clicking either. Are we supposed to?
Well, I don't know why it works sometimes and not others, but all right, David, mic check.
1, 2, check.
Good. And then I want to just make sure this is working. Yes. All right, are you guys
That
ready?
scares me.
That's scary.
We can get our anxiety hormones up the entire time just by listening to that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I got to figure out a way to work that in at some point. All right, are you guys ready? Here we go.
No.
Here we
Short
go.
pause, then I'm going to start.